voting blocks, this group is not moving towards him. It's actually moving slightly away. So you go back 8 years ago, he won him by 33. You go back 4 years ago, he won him by 31. Now what we look is we see that in the latest average of polls, he's only up by 27. Now that may not seem like a lot, but given that we're seeing these double-digit gains, say, among black voters or among Hispanic voters in some of the polls, the fact that we're seeing this core group of supporters actually moving away from him, not just off of the 2016 baseline, but the 2020 baseline as well, I think that's a rather interesting development.
Shrinkage, as Donald Trump might say, based on what he said the last few days. Why could even a small difference with this group matter?
Why can a small difference with this group matter? Because look at what percentage of the electorate that they make up. So we can look nationally, right? Look at this. Non-college white voters make up 40% of the electorate. That's more than college whites at 29%. All other groups, voters of color at 28%. So this is something that we've seen throughout the board, right? Which is that Donald Trump is making huge gains with groups that make up a smaller percentage of the electorate while he's losing a little bit. But these groups that he's losing a little bit of make up a much larger portion of the electorate. But more than that, you know, we're talking about the US of A, where they make up 40%. Why don't you go to those key Great Lake battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin? They have outsized import in those Great Lake battleground states. Non-college white voters, look at this. They make up the slim majority of voters at 51%, way more than college whites at 30%, way more than all other voters at 16%. So if you're seeing movement in the Great Lake battleground states among non-college whites, that could be a very big development, John.
Are we seeing movement in the battleground states among non-college whites?
Nothing quite like a leading question, my dear friend. Yes, we are. We're seeing the same pattern in the Great Lake battleground states that we're seeing nationally. That is small movement among non-college white voters. Again, you see it back in 2016, Donald Trump won him by 25. You see a small movement in 2020, Donald Trump winning him by 22. And look at that, what we are today. Again, Trump is ahead, but his margins are smaller. And when you have a shrinking margin for Donald Trump among his core group that makes up the majority of voters, it can make up for big shifts among smaller groups of the electorate. And this is why Kamala Harris is still in the ball game right now. It's because even though she's losing big league among groups that make up a small portion of the electorate, and she's making it up among groups that make up a big portion of the electorate, even if the movements are small. But it's clear here.
That is very interesting. That is a clear downward slope in these key states among his key demographic. And if I can,
yes,
just
please
for a second, again, you know, as you're looking here, again, this is where Donald Trump has seen gains, but it's the smallest group in these top two.
That's exactly right. Among white voters and non-college whites and college whites especially, they make up a lion's share of the electorate. And so even if you're seeing small movements among these groups, among non-college whites, slightly larger among college whites, it more than makes up, or at least makes up for, the movement among voters of color, all others in this particular case, John.
All points to a very close election. Harriet, and thank you.
15 days to go.
Very much. Sarah?